Hello and a very warm welcome to episode number 20, Pluto in the zodiac signs. Pluto in your zodiac sign, or rather your Pluto sign in the horoscope, how to find it in there and what it actually means, or rather why it matters to you personally. Can mean. For this, today I'd like to start with a story from Greek mythology about Hades, Demeter and Persephone, which is absolutely perfect for helping us to understand Pluto, who is equated with Hades, to really internalize his unique characteristics, to draw out the true essence, because in that way you can make much better use of it for yourself and not just push the meanings into a single category. Now, as we reflect on this, it's important to remember that these myths are layered and rich with meaning, offering us valuable insights if we take the time to explore them thoughtfully. The story is about Demeter, the goddess of fertility and the earth, who is also equated with Virgo in the zodiac. Then Persephone, her beautiful daughter, who is equated with Libra in the zodiac, and Hades, the god of the underworld, who is equated with the planet Pluto. So Demeter, the devoted and loving mother of the beautiful Persephone, her cherished daughter, stayed together with her beloved child at the tranquil and picturesque Lake Pergusa, located in the region of Enna in the heart of Sicily. That's where they lived together. And yes, she was the goddess there, especially for all the farmers, and made sure that the harvests were bountiful and good and that people had enough to eat. Her beautiful daughter Persephone, who is equated with Libra, had a deep appreciation for the beauty of nature and regularly went out to the lake, that is Lake Pergusa, which is in Enna, by the way, very close to where I live, since I live in Sicily. Yes, and she went there regularly because she loved nature, to pick flowers, to look at the lake, to spend her time there. And her breathtaking, remarkable beauty became known even in the underworld, even to the powerful god of the underworld himself. He had to see for himself what was truly going on, whether it was indeed true that this woman was so beautiful. And so he split the earth open right at Lake Pergusa in two in order to come up to the surface world above, and found himself standing directly opposite Persephone to make sure whether she really was that beautiful. And he fell in love with her within seconds because she truly was breathtakingly beautiful, and he was so taken with her that he kidnapped her on the spot. So he took her with him through the crack in the earth, closed it up again and abducted her into the underworld. Demeter, on the other hand, her mother, of course searched for her after several days had passed, and her beautiful daughter had simply vanished without a trace. She searched, but she couldn't find her. And that, of course, made her extremely angry, so she began to protest and said, "No, not like this. I want my daughter back. If I don't get my daughter back and no one wants to help me, then I'll make sure that nothing grows anymore and that the harvests fail and then no one will have anything to eat." Yes, and then it came to Zeus, who stands for Jupiter, who keeps everything in order, coordinates everything, and basically ensures order at the gods' table. Yes, and he came along and wanted to know what was going on. He could already see the danger here, that people would have to suffer from a famine, and so he said he would help. And so it happened that, thanks to the sun god, it was revealed that, in fact, Hades, the god of the underworld, had kidnapped her beautiful daughter. Well, after that, she took care of that first. And he wanted to know, he truly wished to understand what was going on, why he had simply and without warning kidnapped her daughter. But then it turned out that Persephone could have come back, she could have returned once she had been found, once they knew exactly where she was, only she had tasted, or rather she had actually eaten, some pomegranate that Hades had offered her. And the pomegranate, in symbolism, stands, among other things, for sexual awakening, for power, for eroticism, for desire, for the mysteries of transformation, and for the deep hidden forces that shape our lives. Yes, and of course, as you might have already guessed or inferred from this, it is quite clear that Hades, the god of the underworld, seduced her with his incredibly magnetic, deeply seductive, and absolutely irresistible charm and allure, and our dear Persephone, who was also represented by Libra in this context, apparently just couldn't resist his advances, which then, as a result, led to her, was not allowed to return completely, because the old text and ancient stories say that if someone has once tasted the underworld, they are forever bound to it, unable to ever truly leave its grasp. Yes, and the upshot was that Zeus then said, "Okay, this is how we'll do it now." From that moment on, Persephone was allowed to spend the beautiful blossoming spring and the warm sunny summer on Earth, together with her loving mother Demeter, but in the cool crisp autumn and the cold dark winter, she was required to return to the shadowy underworld to be with Hades, who by that time had already made her his wife. Yes, and that is how it was, that the scales, which, as people often say, has difficulty making decisions or frequently wavers between two sides. The scales themselves already suggest this, the constant back and forth, the weighing of options, that she then spent the entire spring and summer on Earth with her loving mother, and autumn and winter in the underworld. And with that, the cycle of the seasons, as we know it, was born and began. Because when Persephone rises once again in the spring, Demeter rejoices and nature blooms beautifully. But when she descends once again in the autumn season, Demeter mourns deeply, and nature itself withdraws into silence. And Hades, also known as Pluto, actually managed to make Persephone the queen of the underworld by abducting her away from the world above. Namely, this was possible thanks to his passionate yet truly profound and deep love for her, but also thanks to his incredible, almost irresistible magnetism, his exceptionally strong will, his razor-sharp intelligence, and his remarkable talent for arousing intense desire and longing in others. And precisely for this reason, the other side of Pluto also stands for truth. He represents temptation, seduction, but also self-deception. If you want to master Pluto energy, you have to stay true to yourself. You mustn't sell yourself out. You have to remain true to your own inner truth. And Pluto puts this to the test, to many tests. And that doesn't mean you don't have to go through hell, because you absolutely do. Dante, for example, says this, but it is also written in many other texts that you must go through hell to reach heaven. There is truly no way around hell if you genuinely want to be allowed to enter paradise. And in the end, it's really nothing other than bravely facing our own inner shadow, coming face to face with the deepest parts of ourselves, acknowledging what lies within. Because it is precisely here that the strongest, deepest transformation takes place, which is exactly what Pluto represents. By standing firm and resolute no matter what comes our way, we provoke and awaken exactly what lies dormant deep within us. However, that also means that in general, we tend to use everything and every resource that might possibly be necessary for this purpose. And that is, in fact, just everyday life. Each and every single day, whether you're at work, with your family, or with your friends, in your daily life, all of these moments can be used for this. That's exactly what Gurdjieff said as well. He said, the path is every day, in the now. You don't have to go anywhere at all, because everything is suitable for transformation. And it is precisely everyday life. It's exactly. The annoying colleagues, the screaming children, the boss, or whatever it may be. I mean, everyone has these situations, and it's exactly these that should be used every day, because that's where the tension lies. Within this tension is precisely the power for transformation. And that is exactly what we need in order to develop further. Because in the end, exactly that is what happens when we're faced with someone who triggers us, yes? And as a result of this interaction, we might feel bad or get upset or experience a range of emotions or whatever the case may be, then energy is lost in the process. I've already talked about this in the video called Mars in Your Zodiac Sign, which I'll link again below for your reference. It's exactly about how you can lose energy in certain situations, in particular when you are confronted with specific triggers or challenging circumstances. Of course, there are many different situations here. And here, everything is used. Every single confrontation is used. The whole daily routine is simply used to make these tensions and challenges we face work for us, because that's truly the only way we can rise higher. There really is no other way. To purify ourselves, we absolutely need this tension. It's often said in scriptures that darkness actually works for the light. That means we make use of the darkness for our own benefit, take an advantage of it in a way that serves us. And we don't have to lie, be hypocritical, or do anything else for that matter. Because if we have the guts, the courage, and the inner strength to face the situation, whatever it may be, simply to stand up for ourselves, not to sell ourselves out, no matter what it is, then an incredible, almost overwhelming tension arises. And if we can withstand this tension by staying true to ourselves, by remaining honest, authentic, and genuine in our actions and intentions, come what may, we transform ourselves. Inevitably, thanks to this tension, that is exactly the secret of a successful transformation. Yes, to put it plainly, we depend on that. Without confrontations, without triggers, without in a so-called stupid situation during the year, we wouldn't be able to develop at all. We need them. We have to make use of them. That also means we have to see things completely differently. We mustn't see problems as problems anymore, but as opportunities for transformation. Because if we do that over a longer period until things come up, it's actually quite simple. You just have to look at what annoys you, what triggers you. Yes, there's always enough of that. Usually it starts pretty early on. And yes, at some point you get to the stage where you've reached that melting point. And that's exactly what it's all about in the end, reaching that melting point, that crucial moment of change. That means you keep undergoing transformation, you keep engaging in the practice of self-alchemy, always striving and working on yourself until you finally reach that point. And that's the point at which true wholeness is fully attained, where, so to speak, one finally becomes enlightened, or in other words, one's entire energetic structure is permanently and fundamentally changed, permanently raised and elevated to a much higher frequency. And there are truly an incredible number of different traditions, ancient scriptures and spiritual teachings that talk about, discuss, or report on this remarkable phenomenon. For example, the path of the twin soul, Shiva and Shakti. From the Tantric tradition, a truly beautiful and extraordinarily profound tradition, absolutely recommended for anyone who is interested in the path of the twin soul. By the way, I've also made a detailed video about this topic. I'll link it again for you below in the description. But of course, there are many other spiritual or philosophical paths as well, such as those of Buddha, Laozi, or Hermes Trismegistus, as well as Rumi or the mystical tradition of Sufism, also known as Sufi mysticism. All these are different traditions, different teachings, which are all about nothing other than inner cleansing, inner purification, in order to reach this new energetic state, this new level of being, this elevated state of consciousness. Yes, and we are doing exactly the same, but here we use ancient astrology as our detailed and insightful roadmap with exactly the same goal, to elevate ourselves to a new level of awareness and understanding, with the same goal of achieving wholeness, completeness, and a sense of unity within ourselves. Right, but let's get started now and see where Pluto is located in your horoscope and what it might mean there, what kind of influence it could have, and how it might affect your personal journey of transformation and growth. If you don't have your horoscope yet, and perhaps you've only just tuned into this video, you'll find a helpful link below in the video description. It's a link to another video, specifically the video on how to create your own personal horoscope. Click on it and let's create your own horoscope together with me, step by step. Take your time and follow along as we go through the process. It doesn't even take 5 minutes. And then, precisely, you come back here because we need to know exactly where Pluto was located at the specific time of your birth. And we find that out by having your horoscope carefully calculated for you. It's free of charge, and you'll find the link below in the description. And apart from that, there's also some news. Namely, there are the new white sheets, which I already mentioned in another episode. That means today, as always, we have the Pluto in the zodiac sign sheets. Those who watch regularly have already received them by email. everyone else who is new or tuning in for the first time today. You'll also find a link below to the lists, to the planet lists. One of them would be this one here, the Pluto list that you can see now. Of course, that's included as well. This would now be the last list, the final one in the sequence. But in addition to this list, there are also blank sheets, which look like this, as you can see here. So they're not filled in yet. And the idea is that after all the videos, after you have watched the 10 planet videos, you can neatly and carefully transfer your own personal meanings onto a blank sheet, so to speak, in your own handwriting. It works like this. Up here at the top, you look at the symbols of the zodiac signs, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and then you check in your horoscope, where is my sun located? This process allows you to personalize the information, making it uniquely yours, and helps you to better understand the connections between the signs and your own astrological chart. In this particular example horoscope, the sun is positioned in the zodiac sign of Taurus, specifically in the section that belongs to Taurus. Then you take the provided sheet and for the sun, in the very first column, next to the label planet in zodiac sign, you carefully enter the appropriate symbol for the zodiac sign in the corresponding column on the sheet. This helps to clearly indicate the sun's placement within the horoscope. In my case, that's the Taurus symbol. It looks like this. And here you can see that exactly the same procedure is done for the moon. You look at the horoscope to see where the moon is. In my case, it's here in Scorpio. You check the zodiac signs up here to see where Scorpio's located. That's this symbol here. And then you enter it right here. The moon is currently in the zodiac sign of Scorpio, and here you write the word Scorpio and enter the corresponding symbol right here. And then you carry on and look at what, for each person, is the light side. Basically, what's going well, what's good, what can stay as it is, or even be improved. And what is the shadow side? What isn't working so well? Where is there work to be done? And that's exactly what there is now. With this video, which is part of a series, there are 10 videos in total, one for each planet. Additionally, you can find additional further meanings and more detailed explanations on my website. It looks like this. You'll find the link below in the description, of course. There, it says additional meanings, additional planetary sign meanings, and there you'll find all the planets listed again with all meanings, all possible interpretations. And then it's enough to simply click on it here. Let's take Mercury as an example and see, yes, where do I have Mercury in my chart? Right, let's assume it's in Virgo. Then you just click here on light side. And then you'll get loads more examples right here, yes, of what could potentially fit into this category. And you can have another look there. Get inspired once again and take a moment to see what might fit perfectly here, so that everyone, no matter their preferences, can find the qualities and characteristics that suit them best. And these 9 blank sheets, which are provided for your convenience, you'll find them on exactly the same page where the other planet sign sheets are located, the planet sign PDFs. They're also linked below in the description, so you can easily access them whenever you need. Of course, they're also available in English for the non-German speaking viewers. And you'll find them in the respective video in the other language, always down in the description, so in English then. And it would be very beneficial to fill this out now, to take a close look and find what's most suitable for you, because we'll need them from phase 1 onwards, as in the next video we'll be covering the connections, the aspects. Yes, and then phase 1 is already just around the corner, where we'll observe in everyday life, so every day, how the moon influences our feelings and our daily routine. And for that, we need this knowledge of how the planets and signs affect us individually. So let's begin right now with Pluto in the zodiac signs, which, among other things, stands for energy and transformation, for intensity, for depth, but also, as mentioned before, for eroticism, for power, for truth, and the Pluto symbol is this one right here, which I'm currently circling with the mouse. Pluto, as a celestial body, is often associated with profound change, regeneration, and the uncovering of hidden truths. And in the horoscope here, it's this one, the same symbol. In my example horoscope, it's now in Libra, in the Libra section. But as always, we'll start with Aries, and if you're... Pluto symbol, so this one right here, which I'm currently circling with the mouse, if yours is located here in this section, Aries, in this 30-degree segment of the zodiac, then your Pluto sign is Aries. And that means that at the exact moment of your birth, Pluto was in the red Aries direction, so in the red cardinal direction of Aries. And among other things, this can also mean, on the positive side or on the light side, physical transformation, optimal instinct and heightened energetic perception, as well as maximum regeneration. Someone like that, a person with these qualities, can find it very easy and natural to transform their body, adapting and changing as needed. These are the classic examples of people who regularly and consistently work on their bodies and can achieve and do achieve fantastic results. So going from completely normal to super athletic with everything absolutely defined, not an ounce of fat anywhere on the body, super sporty, super body awareness. Others, on the other hand, who don't have such a favourable position, might spend their whole lives struggling with 10 or 20 kilos of body weight, and for those people, it's unimaginable how that's even possible. But in this case, it's really down to the positive influences that make it easier for some, and that's why it comes more naturally to them. On the shadow side, however, destructive and impulsiveness, yes, because Pluto also stands for the destructive, for death and rebirth, for the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. So either you emerge anew from something, for example from a severe crisis, or you destroy yourself, sometimes without even realizing it. And here lies the danger. If it's badly positioned, if there are blockages or other disturbances, you can end up going down this destructive path or into manipulative abuse of power, overheating. Yes, with overheating, because Pluto stands for energy. Something could build up here because Aries is heat, fire, and the energy can become overheated, sometimes to a dangerous degree. Yes, blockages can occur, stagnant energy, or a blocked energy flow, like migraines or headaches, or even other physical symptoms. Now, let's move on to Taurus. If your Pluto symbol is here in this Taurus section, in this 30-degree segment, then your Pluto sign is Taurus, and this placement can have its own unique influences and meanings. And that means that at your birth, the planet Pluto was actually situated in the general region and direction of Taurus in the sky, specifically in the green direction of Taurus. And in its most positive form, this can sometimes, in certain situations, indeed mean maximum transformation. Here, I believe, is the deepest level of transformation, or at least the deepest level of processing that might even be possible at all. Because Taurus, by its very nature, processes things very thoroughly and really dives deep into everything. You can very easily picture this, for example, with a cow, because it has 4 separate stomachs and digests everything especially well, in particular when it comes to digestion. And it's the same with Taurus. Taurus is slower in its approach, but it is incredibly, incredibly deep and thorough in this process of digestion, in this ongoing and profound transformation. And if Pluto is also well placed here in the chart, which in any case always stands for transformation and deep change, then you could truly say that this is the maximum possible transformative power that can be experienced in this context. And accordingly, of course, a constant change as well. Yeah, so really very good prospects for a successful transformation, because it happens slowly but surely, deeply and thoroughly. And anything that hasn't been understood, or anything that doesn't work, gets looked at again and digested 4 more times until it finally goes smoothly. Yes, and that deep understanding is, of course, part of the package. On the shadow side, however, possession ultimately becomes a shackle, seeking ever greater intensity and depth in the pursuit of pleasure. And this can be extremely intensified here with Pluto, because he stands for intensity and depth. And Taurus is certainly not someone who despises pleasure. And really, this phenomenon has truly and consistently been observed right here. For example, in this very context, the taste buds were noticeably and significantly affected. They are much more finely and intricately developed, meaning that it really genuinely tastes exceptionally, remarkably good to them. They truly and sincerely see it as a kind of deep fulfillment. The depth, the richness, it's so incredibly delicious. And it gives me such great, immense pleasure, because they really, truly feel it, because the senses perceive and experience it so intensely, so vividly. And that's exactly what needs to be addressed and considered if that's the case. One should be very wary and cautious of this temptation, this alluring seduction, this deep, profound pleasure. Should he really step out of line? Should one try to fill oneself up inside with it? Yes, then one should consciously counteract it. Now we have Gemini here, where I'm moving the mouse around. And if your Pluto symbol is in this 30-degree section here of Gemini, then your Pluto sign is Gemini. And that means that Pluto, at the time of your birth, was in the orange-coloured direction of Gemini. And on the lighter side, this can mean recognising hidden connections and subtle links, because Pluto also stands for secrets, for the hidden, the underworld, the invisible, and for that which you do not obviously see or notice. In other words, Pluto is associated with things that are not immediately apparent, with mysteries and with what lies beneath the surface. And Gemini, the quick, the mentally attentive and nimble Gemini, can of course look behind the facades and truly actually see them, sees the hidden things that aren't obvious to everyone. That aren't obvious, and can also make sense of them because they're so mentally agile and alert. Influence, transformation through knowledge, skillful speech. On the shadow side, however, there's manipulation through words or information, cynicism or being overly critical. Yes, with Pluto, if it's badly aspected, if it's somehow unfavourably placed, then of course Gemini can manipulate brilliantly with words. They absolutely twist everything around to suit themselves and are truly an absolute master at manipulating with their words. Now, this is the section of Cancer, which is the 30-degree segment of the zodiac, and I'm currently circling it with the mouse for you to see. And if your Pluto symbol is located right here in this area, then your Pluto sign is Cancer. This means that the planet Pluto was positioned in the dark blue direction of Cancer at the exact time of your birth. And on the bright side, this particular placement can often mean transformation, change, and deep personal growth. Through emotional self-reflection, they will be able to delve very deeply and thoroughly into themselves, into their own rich and complex emotional world, which is extremely multifaceted and is often lived out and expressed in many different ways. And if this is well aspected, they can access it wonderfully and use it perfectly for transformation, because with Pluto well placed here, they simply have very good and profound access. Yes, and a deep intuition. On the shadow side, however, there can be resentment or a thirst for revenge when feelings are hurt. Because Pluto, yes, that also means revenge. Yes, and heaven help you if you cross a Pluto person who has this badly aspected or blocked, or who tends towards thoughts of revenge or even revenge itself. Especially when it comes to actions, then this is very much encouraged here. And here, it's all about the emotions. With Cancer, they will take it very badly if their feelings are hurt. Although, of course, you can use this optimally for transformation. That's why areas of tension or blockages are actually, in fact, truly perfect. They're really perfect for transformation. As a matter of fact, because if there were no tensions or blockages, there would be nothing at all to transform. That means it's perfect. If you can already see it, or if something applies, then you have it right there and can get started straight away and see, okay, this is what needs to be transformed now. I react really badly to that. But why actually? Because the other person, in the end, just acts as a mirror for me. Because what I feel is inside me. They're just triggering it within me, right? So it's me who's feeling this. And yes, exactly, you can get started with it straight away. Then let's continue with Lego. This is the area right here, the specific region that I'm currently circling with the mouse right now on the screen. And if your Pluto symbol is located anywhere in this area, then your Pluto sign is Leo. And that means that Pluto was positioned in the yellow Leo direction at the exact time of your birth. Among other things, in its positive form, this can mean a profound transformation through authentic self-expression. For example, it suggests that inner crises and personal challenges can actually become a powerful driving force for self-fulfillment and genuine, original creativity. Yes, and a magnetic attraction, which is definitely present here, because Leo is always, without exception, in the spotlight anyway. Whether he wants to be or not, that's simply in his nature. And then with Pluto as well, magnetic Pluto, everything just sticks to it. On the shadow side, however, narcissism is particularly favoured here. It can, of course, occur in many other cases too, but in this specific context, it is even more likely to manifest, especially if the placement isn't considered good or is afflicted. Destructive drama, complicated affairs, yes, with Pluto present here and Leo involved, especially when badly aspected, these tendencies can become even more pronounced. Yes, that might not be easy in a relationship. To the other person, of course. Yes, arrogance. Let's continue with Virgo. This is the symbol right here, the one that I am currently circling with the mouse right now for you to see. And if your Pluto symbol is located here, then your Pluto sign is Virgo. That means that at the specific time of your birth, the planet Pluto was positioned in the orange direction of Virgo on the chart. And on the bright side, this can mean, among other things, truly profound and deep thinking. Yes, very profound indeed. It hardly gets any deeper than that, because Virgo is already extremely analytical and intellectually well endowed, especially with Pluto present here, further enhancing Virgo's natural mental sharpness and depth. This takes things even deeper, much more intense. So intellectually, some very, very good things can come about, and you grasp an incredible amount, unbelievably complex and hidden connections, and an excellent energetic awareness of the body. Virgo here, together with Pluto, will immediately notice if something's going on in the body. They also know very well how to heal themselves, how to help themselves. They simply know this thanks to Pluto being here, because they already have an excellent awareness of their body. Yes, this is absolutely ideal here. On the shadow side, however, compulsive behaviours, neurotic worries, sexually inhibited, uptight. With compulsive behaviours or neurotic worries, because Pluto stands for compulsion, psychological pressure and intensity. Yes, and Virgo likes to be in control. They have a tendency towards perfectionism. Yes, and here it's quite possible that you might go back 10 times to check whether the oven is really off or if the door is actually locked. Yes, those little quirks, those neurotic ones. Tics, compulsive behaviours, exactly. That would be very much encouraged with Pluto present here in this position. And being sexually inhibited or uptight, the highly analytical mind of Virgo could very easily, and often, far too much in fact, sneak into, say, those intimate, private, erotic evenings, making absolutely sure that everything is just perfect and in order. Is there a gram of fat too much? Is everything really tidy? Does the flat look clean enough? Yes, those would be the classic Virgo thoughts. And then with Pluto in a difficult position, and that can then lead to these inhibitions or blockages simply because you overthink things. Pluto intensifies it all and adds a psychological pressure on top. Yes, and that's something you should take a closer look at. Exactly. Then here we have the Libra symbol. I'm moving the mouse cursor all around it, and if, for example, your Pluto symbol, just like in my example here, is located in the sign of Libra, then your Pluto sign is Libra. And that means that at the time of your birth, Pluto was positioned in the green Libra direction. And, among other important things, this can also mean, in its positive form, a process of transformation through compromise, cooperation, and the building of meaningful relationships. Here, Libra can make optimal use of interpersonal relationships for its own transformation by becoming aware of and recognizing, reflecting on, and resolving difficulties or problems that may arise in their lives, for example. And above all, by resolving them within themselves so that they are at peace with themselves, and yes, they use this for their own personal development. On the shadow side, however, there can be dependency, power games in relationships, or romantic partnerships. Yes, that would be exactly the case if things are not well positioned. Then Libra doesn't see it that way, and instead dependencies, power games, or similar issues arise. Now, we have the constellation of Scorpio here, which I'm currently circling with the mouse pointer, and if your Pluto symbol is located anywhere within this 30-degree section of the zodiac, then your Pluto sign is, in fact, Scorpio. And that means that Pluto, the distant and mysterious celestial body, was positioned in the deep red Scorpio direction in the sky at the exact time of your birth. And this can mean, in its more positive and constructive form, transformation through crisis, the remarkable ability for radical healing and profound enlightenment, and the pursuit of absolute truth. This refers to a person who truly grows, evolves, and develops through facing and overcoming crises in their life. Simply because he cannot lie to himself, especially if this is well placed here in his mind and heart. He will not be able to twist things around in such a way that he sweeps them under the rug and ignores them, because he genuinely loves the truth. He absolutely detests lies. He despises falsehoods. And if these are present in his life, then sooner or later, by his very nature, he will inevitably be forced to face them. And no matter how hard it may be, no matter how difficult or painful the situation may become, he will look at it directly and endure this challenging crisis. He will then emerge from it even stronger. And that's why it's called radical healing, because he doesn't shy away from it. He doesn't fear the darkness. He doesn't fear suffering. He goes through it, or she does, and that's exactly how healing happens. And that's also why it's called radical enlightenment, because that's what it's all about. Ultimately, it's about carefully examining things, being truly honest with yourself, and deliberately going through crises. Because you simply can't avoid them. You have to go free them. And in the end, it's suffering either way. Because if you don't face your issues, or pretend nothing's wrong, you still end up suffering. But it's suffering in installments. You distract yourself, maybe you go out in the evening, you drink, or you do something else, just so you don't have to look at it. And it still keeps coming back around the corner, somehow, all the time. You suffer slowly. It creeps up on you. Whereas here, Pluto in Scorpio says, no, all right then, I'll suffer properly this one time. I know it, I'll go through it, and afterwards it's sorted. And that's why there's enlightenment, because that's exactly how it should be. So that's a big advantage if you have this well placed, although of course other factors should also be present. That means it's not everything, but you've already got a very good hand here. On the shadow side, however, obsession, an all-consuming and overwhelming destructive intensity, an extreme and relentless need for control, and ultimately self-destruction. Yes, that would, of course, be the other side if you don't use it for healing, but instead intentionally and deliberately throw yourself into such suffering, perhaps knowingly. Yes, because of this constellation, you have this tendency and somehow need to live out this intensity. And yes, then you're really in hell, stewing it, and you can't get out if you don't know about it. Yes, honestly, it's really hard to get out of that. Many people often spend throughout their entire lives, in suffering and torment, because in some way, that's what they want. They need it. For them, it's truly existential for them. They simply couldn't live without this kind of intensity, without this deep, persistent suffering, especially if they don't even know about it. If you do know, of course, you can find alternatives that help you grow, that genuinely and authentically allow you to transform. And instead of draining your energy, these alternatives actually free up that energy so you can grow and flourish. But you have to know about it. You have to actively do something about it. You have to take real action. Now, let's continue with Sagittarius. That's the symbol here, the one I'm circling with the mouse, right here on the screen. And if your Pluto symbol is in here, then your Pluto sign is Sagittarius. And that means that at the time of your birth, Pluto was positioned in the light blue Sagittarius direction. And this can mean, on the positive side, significant transformation through faith, through spirituality, and through personal growth and development. Yes, because Sagittarius could have a truly unshakable faith, a deep-seated faith in the good, an unwavering faith in life, a positivity, an enthusiasm that carries them through every single crisis. They truly believe in the good. They know the many joys of life. They're very familiar with them, and they believe in a happy ending. And that's exactly why Sagittarius can absolutely succeed, because they have such a truly deep and unwavering faith in themselves and in life itself. On the negative side, though, overexertion to the point of complete and utter collapse leads to a significant loss of energy. And this, in turn, can become Sagittarius's downfall, especially with Pluto involved, but even without it, because Sagittarius generally tends to completely exhaust themselves, sometimes pushing themselves far beyond their limits. And to such an extent that they really do collapse. They push themselves until the very last drop of energy and effort, because they truly have a lot of energy and stamina. They possess an extraordinary amount of energy. These are also the typical people who can truly coordinate everything, who perhaps also take care of everything at work. They simply have an overall overview and know precisely what needs to be done. And people also like to go to these individuals and ask for advice or ask how they should do things, because this person just has it sorted. They just get it. They know what needs to be done. And as a result, there is always demand for them, and this person would need to learn to say no, which is extremely difficult for them. They simply can't say no, precisely because they feel that others really need this from them. And it also gives them a sense of validation inside. They are important in some way, and that feeling is significant to them. And so they can't say no because they would feel bad, because they feel responsible for the needs and expectations of others. But they should say no. They should put on the brakes here so that they don't constantly overexert themselves, so that they don't always overstep their limits and boundaries. And that's exactly what needs to be done here, to say, stop, I'm going to manage my energy now. And I won't overexert myself anymore, because I recognize the importance of maintaining my own well-being and balance. Because then, if they manage that, it's like an inner nuclear fusion here. And of course, they can then use that wonderfully for their own transformation. Then let's continue with Capricorn. This is the symbol here, the one I'm circling with the mouse right now. And if your Pluto symbol is located in this particular area, specifically within this 30-degree section of the zodiac, then your Pluto sign is considered to be Capricorn. This means that Pluto was positioned in the violet direction or sector of the sign of Capricorn at the exact time of your birth. In its most positive and beneficial form, this astrological placement can indicate the potential for sustainable, long-lasting and profound changes, as well as deep personal transformations. Such a person might, for example, come to the realization that their professional, career-related or structural life circumstances are no longer suitable or right for them, prompting them to seek meaningful change. And instead of just making small incremental adjustments to their current situation, they decide on a much more radical yet long-term restructuring of their lives. For example, this could mean a complete and total change to an entirely new professional field, building up and committing to a significant long-term project, or even completely reorganizing and rethinking their entire life structure from the ground up. This change doesn't happen impulsively, but rather strategically, with discipline and lasting effect. Pluto brings the incredible power to tear down and transform the old structures, and Capricorn creates a stable, reliable, and strong foundation. On the shadow side, however, there is burnout, extreme fixation on one thing, and a compulsion to control. Then let's continue with Aquarius. Aquarius is the symbol here, which is where I'm currently moving the mouse around right now. And if your Pluto symbol is located within this 30-degree section of the chart, then your Pluto sign is Aquarius in astrology. And in this particular case, Pluto was situated in the violet direction of the zodiac sign Aquarius at the time of your birth. On the bright side, this placement can often mean having a transformative effect on groups of people, combining a sense of emotional distance with a remarkable depth of feeling. Here, Pluto in Aquarius has the ability to analyse objectively and at the same time very deeply without being overwhelmed by emotions. This means that he is capable of feeling very, very deeply, but is still able to emotionally distance himself from it when necessary. And that really is an ideal situation, because distancing oneself from one's feelings in a serious case, when push comes to shove, is very difficult. Yes, it's very difficult, but it should be possible, because ultimately we should be the masters of our feelings. Yes, ideally, our consciousness should be able to govern our feelings and not the other way round. On the shadow side, however, emotional detachment, yes, that's where it goes completely the other way, and everything just gets blocked, and then, well, the emotional side gets shut off entirely, or there are significant problems with trust and intimacy. So now we have Pisces, and the Pisces symbol is this one right here, where I'm moving the mouse around on the screen. If your Pluto symbol is located in this specific area, then your Pluto sign is Pisces. That means that Pluto was in the light blue Pisces direction at the time of your birth, indicating that Pluto was positioned in the part of the sky associated with the constellation Pisces during your birth. And among other things, in its most positive and beneficial form, this can actually mean a great deal of psychological depth and complexity. Yes, right here, the compassionate, empathetic, and highly sensitive Pisces meets the deep, profoundly psychological and transformative Pluto. This is truly, genuinely, really an ideal and harmonious combination for such areas and situations. So these are ideal psychologists. They can really see deep into the innermost parts, into the most hidden corners. Yes, and in this way, for example, they can also help very well. Then, furthermore, spiritual transformative power, a mystical presence, intense dreams. On the shadow side, however, there is an inability to act, a detachment from bodily instinct, because Pisces is already very unearthly, not very grounded, and loves to spend time in the dream world. And if Pluto is also poorly placed here, then one can truly become completely detached from any perception of the body. So really, not perceiving the body at all anymore. And of course, that's not how it should be, because we are here on Earth. And that would then be the task for Pisces, and especially for Pluto in Pisces, that one should engage with earthly matters and work more in that direction. So now we've thoroughly covered all 10 planets in detail, and in the next episode we'll be talking about the aspects, which are the 5 main connections that we absolutely need in order to truly understand how the energies flow and interact with each other. These are the conjunction, the sextile, the square, the trine, and the opposition. Each of these plays a significant role in astrology, and understanding them is essential for interpreting a chart. Exactly, and we'll be discussing those in more detail in the next episode. So I'd say until the next episode, take care. Until then, bye-bye.